that is actually what Jocko says. You can always learn from anybody. I listened to this on his podcast lately. You can learn from anybody. You could learn from someone lower down in the ranks from you. You can learn from your boss. You can learn from yourself.
Isn't he the cutest? He's so smart. Hey there, everybody. I've got a special guest on the podcast today. This is Chase Ray. He is number 3, Gibson.
The third.
His older siblings have been on the podcast now, and so it's his turn. So one of the things that we love about Chase is his mindset. He is 11 years old.
Yep. And
this kid knows how to get better by 1% every single day so that he gets better by 365% every single year. One of Chase's favorite people, I'm going to move the microphone over here for us, Chase. One of Chase's favorite people, though, is who?
Jocko. Jocko Willink.
If you follow me on Instagram at all, on my personal account, there is a massive poster in my gym, and it says, good. If you're inside of my paid coaching community, I have shown you the video. It's like a 3-minute video, 5 minutes, something like that, that Jocko put on YouTube called Good. Jocko is a retired Navy SEAL, and he's written books like The Obstacle is,
He's written Extreme Ownership.
Thank you.
The Mark series.
Uh-huh.
And
there's like Mark a tactical one. There's like
that was Extreme Ownership.
No, there's another one too. It's in a green book.
Oh, that one?
Yeah.
I haven't read that one yet.
It's like, isn't it like tactical strategies for leadership or something like that?
Yeah.
Anyway, Jocko is amazing. Talk about a marketing genius. He literally has everything in military. Like the numbers are like in military and everything. And I love his protein shakes. I have one every day after my workout. Anyway, so Chase has really taken an interest in Jocko and listens to his podcast every night while he goes to sleep.
It's really good.
What do you like about it?
It really tells you about a lot of things and how to do leadership.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leadership podcast. He brings in different people from different situations.
And Dad would like play it for you in the car on the way to school. That's how you found it, right?
Yeah, I think. He said like, oh, you should try it out, I think.
And then Chase just listens to it every night before he goes to bed.
At first, I just saw people like, I saw like Dad with like starting like reading more Jocko stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah.
And I tried it. I like listened to his podcast at first.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And then I started reading books.
Mm-hmm. So you've almost read all the way through Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, I'm at like page 100 something.
It's amazing.
Like 102.
It's so awesome.
It's really good if you want to learn more about ownership and take it more. It's you can use it more with companies and stuff. Mm-hmm. If you're like a company who's like struggling from the inside, you can read that book and apply it to everybody.
What if you're like a mom with a network marketing business?
It would still work actually really well.
How?
He said it works for like almost every single company.
Yeah. So explain to us how it would work for a mom.
Like you guys don't you have more than one people in your business?
Yeah.
If someone like accidentally messes up, you could take ownership of that, and you can use that ownership to make them, and you could apply it to them and yourself when you read that book. And it like you could, if it was in your case, you could, you apply it to yourself. You take ownership of that person messing up, and that person, and you say, I won't do this again. And that tells the person that you'll take ownership, but they'll also take ownership of that too.
So, Chase, you wanted to talk today about the ego.
Yes.
And
ego.
Many network marketers, your mom included, have an ego
Everybody has an ego.
as they build their network marketing business. Okay, what did you just say? Say it again.
Everybody has an ego.
Tell us more.
Uh,
Tell me how the ego gets in the way.
the ego gets in a way in a really kind of bad way for you and everybody else.
Go on.
First, it could get in the way, like you're like saying you're like mom is in like this thing in a company where she is like thinks that she's the best at building everything. She's better than this person, and so she doesn't need anyone to help her to build her company. But do you need help to build your company?
Oh yeah, lots
from
of help.
everybody.
Yes.
And so
isn't he the cutest? He's so smart.
And he helps, and you think you're better, and that's the ego getting in the way. But if you did that, that means you would not build your company as well as you have it right now. And it would just be really bad. And then another situation, I guess, for an ego is that you're like after a game, you lose. And you think and your ego says, well, this person missed a goal, and this is like a soccer game. This person missed a goal, and this person also like didn't pass well really good. But I did great. I was perfect. I was awesome. Even though you did make some mistakes, you did not pass well, and you did miss a goal.
So like if you were going for a goal in your network marketing business and you enrolled a bunch of people, but you feel like your team fell short, that would sort of be like you being like, my team didn't work. My team didn't get the orders in. That's why we didn't hit the rank.
Your team. Oh no. Well, you're putting it perfectly. My team. My. There's a lot of different things you could say to coach yourself into thinking that wasn't you making it up.
And what's the problem with that?
The problem with the coaching yourself into thinking, the problem is that if you keep doing that and doing that, then you'll just think you're the awesomest person in the whole entire world.
What's wrong with that?
You will always think you're better than everybody else. You're the toppest of the tippity top.
And what would Jocko say to people like that? Like what's the worst thing that could happen for someone like that?
The worst thing is that their business, like if it was you and you kept doing that, your business could fall. You could like lose people to that, and then your business would fall and fall and fall because you're always thinking, if I launch this project, it will just be perfect. I don't have to think about it. I just know it's going to be good. But it fails, and then fail after fail after fail, and then your business just falls.
So, Chase, as people are listening to you and they're starting to realize, I do have an ego, what should they do?
They should start thinking, oh, what about like if someone has an idea and you said no because you think my idea is better and I'm going to do that, and it's a fail almost always. You can say, hey, why don't I just do this person's idea? What if it's an actual success, really good? And you look into it, and if it's supposed to be a success, you launch it. And then if it's a success, you have to do that a lot more. And you also study your ideas too.
So when you say study ideas, how does Jocko teach to study ideas?
You think about it, you'd see how it would work in the work environment and how in the sales environment.
So it almost seems to me like you're using curiosity.
Yeah, you would be curious about it. You'd be very curious about it.
What other tips do you have for the listeners on the podcast who are struggling with an ego? Or maybe what if their upline has an ego? What should they do? Like their boss, their upline. I know it's not like an
if they
actual
have
boss.
a boss, then like
Yeah, but what if their upline has an ego? What should they do?
well,
Like, how do you communicate with someone that has an ego like that? What would Jocko do?
I mean, I think that what he would do would be like, he would say like, "Hey, could you please try my thing?" And if he says no, my project is better, can you just say just for once? I just want to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just see how it goes. Let's
Mhm.
look into it. Or yeah, you could say let's look into it and see if it would be successful. And then if we think it's successful, then let's launch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he says yes, you can say, okay, let's try. Most times they probably are going to say yes.
Well, and I think too, something that's really important to note is that when you're in a network marketing business, your upline is not your boss, but they feel like your boss in many situations. And so the beautiful thing about that though is if you have an upline with a super big ego, you can literally turn to your team and choose to not have an ego and model the type of leadership that you wish you had and make a difference in your team from you down. Because wouldn't you agree that what Jocko says is the better you get at being onto your ego and adjusting your ego,
Yeah.
the higher success you're going to have.
Yes, the higher success. If you don't have a ego, well, like if you don't have a big ego, you will have more success, but you do have to have an ego.
Why?
Well, you have to have an ego to have confidence in yourself. That because if you're always like, I don't want to do this because I think it's not gonna go. I want to do this person's idea. I want to do this, and if there's idea, the other person's idea won't always be successful. It's like, let's just launch this person's idea.
So that's interesting because I think when we hear like everyone has an ego is bad, an ego is something that ruins your business. But then when you just said, no, you have to have an ego.
Yeah, you have to have some sort of ego because you have to have confidence in yourself. You always have to say, I think this could go.
Now, I have a workshop in my paid member community all about how to develop confidence. And I talk a lot about how there's a difference between ego and confidence. Ego walks into a room and says, I'm better than everyone here. Where confidence walks in a room and says, there's something I could learn from you. There's something I could learn from you. There's something I could learn from you. And I have something that's great here too. What do you think about that?
That is actually what Jocko says. You can always learn from anybody. I listened to this on his podcast lately. You can learn from anybody. You could learn from someone lower down in the ranks from you. You can learn from your boss. You can learn from yourself.
I think that's super powerful, especially in the network marketing industry, because so many of us will think that, oh, that person who's hit the top of their network marketing business, they're better than me. I see this all the time in my clients where they'll be like, have 3 people ordering or 10 people order or 20 people ordering. And they'll say, well, why would anyone want to listen to me? I'm not where so-and-so is. They're at a higher rank than me.
That's when you don't have an ego. You have no ego. So you're never having confidence in yourself. The ego has confidence, a lot of it, but you have to lower that down.
How do you lower it down?
You check it and make sure that what you're doing is not thinking, I am better than everyone else to that point where I just talked about, where like, I am just better than everybody. And I just need to do this all.
So if you could give our listeners a way to check their ego, how would you teach them to check their ego?
I would check. It's pretty easy to check your ego.
And before you tell us this, you know how when you're like reading the scriptures and you're reading a scripture story and it's something like, and then so-and-so the Pharisee was walking around thinking he was better than everyone else because he took the certain amount of steps on the Sabbath and they took too many steps. And in your mind, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm not that person. But oh, Katie down the street, she's the one who should read this verse. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about checking everybody else's ego.
Yourself.
And we're talking about we all have an ego that needs to be checked and the power of that. And so often I think what we do is we want to be the last person
I know.
to check our own ego.
You have to check yourselves first. You think about everybody else after, but not in a bad way. You think of them like, this person is good. They just have to look at themselves and say, hey, maybe I am thinking I'm just better than everybody else. And I'm gonna tell you now.
Okay.
How to check your ego.
Tell us, Chase Ray.
How to check your ego. You check your ego by saying to yourself, what am I thinking about this? About this person? Am I thinking like I am better than this person? I am way better. I think I'm just awesomer than them. Just crazy good, but just better.
Okay.
Just better.
Then
honestly.
what?
And you say, wow, I'm really messing up. I think I am better. I think I'm like saying, oh, my ideas are better, or like my things I do are better than yours. But actually, they're the ones that you can say, oh, maybe they're better than me, and what they're doing is better. But also, if they think that they're just better, then you have to say, you have to tell them what I'm saying right now. And you have to check your ego to see if it's either thinking everyone else is better than you, and you just don't want to do anything, and you just think everyone else is better than you, or I'm just better than everybody else. And
because you want to be in a balance.
You want to be in the middle
of
that. There's like a section where you think this person's idea could be good, and we'll look into that. If that doesn't work, then we'll look at my idea, and if mine is successful, we can launch it. But if theirs is, launch it right away.
Love it. So it's really this idea of, again, like you said, having enough ego to develop confidence in belief in yourself, but not too much ego that it's your way or the highway.
Yeah, your way or the highway. That's perfectly said. Perfectly.
Love it.
And you could just say, that's why, but you have to check your ego regularly and make sure you're not either saying, I suck, I'm the worst, everybody else is better.
We don't want to beat ourselves up.
Yeah, no beating yourself up. Or not saying, I'm better than everybody else.
Right. Everybody. That's where ego takes over.
Yeah.
So how do you, as an 11-year-old, check your ego?
I make sure I'm not putting it like I'm just like saying I'm better and I think that this is that and this is that and I'm just always perfect.
Do you have an example of like a time in the last week where you've had to check?
Oh, I have a perfect example. Okay. I think Mom knows about this. That's why she brought it up.
Go on.
In school, I was saying, oh my gosh, my German teacher is so boring.
Oh yeah, you guys. So I've told you before, all my kids are fluent in German. Chase, say some things in German. Like say what you did last week in German.
Ich lernen sehr viel Wissenschaft von sehr viele Dinge.
Is that not the coolest thing ever? Is that not so cool? So Mackenzie's in the room listening to Chase, and she wants to come and talk to him. So come on camera just for a minute, Mackenzie. Come over here and say something to Chase. It's so fun. I love to hear my kids speak German. Go ahead.
So ich bin at eine neue Schule und sie sind nicht meine Schule jetzt und das war traurig, aber sehr Spaß. So
ja, sehr Spaß.
So sind die Älteste die Schule jetzt.
Ja, mit Dino.
I don't know what they're saying. I don't speak German.
We're basically saying that Mackenzie is at a different school
Oh,
now, and it's very sad that she's at a different school.
because she's not with you
No,
guys.
I'm the oldest in the
Mm.
school
Mm.
with Dean.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dean can speak German.
Yeah, he can too. It's crazy. Okay. Out.
What we're talking about again?
In an example in the last week where you've had to check your ego and you start talking about in German class.
In German class, I was like, oh my gosh, my German teacher's so boring. He's boring every day until Friday. I was like, dude, it's not boring.
Check your ego.
He's not
Check
boring.
your ego, homie.
I was saying, it's because it's at the end of the day most times. We get him at the end of the day, every end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
No one has no energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say it in German. Energie. And that no one is like no one wants to be at school anymore at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to go home, lay in their bed.
So what does this have to do with checking your ego?
With checking your ego, I was saying, oh my gosh, it was so boring. I was thinking he is boring, and
Mhm.
I'm like
I'm here to be entertained.
Yeah,
Entertain
I'm
me.
here. I'm here, but like it was actually me not having energy, not just like,
You not bringing yourself to the class.
and me saying, "Oh my goodness."
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So how did you fix that?
I fixed it by seeing it. I was like looking at it in the car, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it wasn't boring today."
Well, it was like number
But then I
one,
said-
you had awareness
And then
that you were the problem with what you were thinking.
yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, dude, in my head, I was like, in the car, I was like, it wasn't boring today, but I'm not gonna say boring. I'm gonna say everyone has had energy today.
Yeah. Well, and like one of the things I was thinking about as you were just saying this is that a lot of times I'll hear people say, "Oh, my upline isn't helping me enough," or "My company should be doing more for me,"
Yeah,
and things like that.
Me,
Right?
because I'm better.
Ego.
I'm better.
Because it's more of like an entitlement, right? Like they should be helping me more. They should be doing more for me. But that would actually hurt your business.
If you're saying like they or me in your head, and like they are doing this, or
Ego alert.
they should
Ego
do me.
alert. Yep.
Yeah.
They, me, should. Ego alert. And when those things come up, Chase, what should they do?
You?
What should they do if they're like, oh my gosh, I'm hearing myself say these things like they should and me and all these things, when they're like, ooh, ego alert, what should I do?
You should say, oh my gosh, I'm doing this, and I
There's
have to
ego.
stop. I have to stop saying they should do this for me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm more powerful than them. I'm better than them. You have
Mhm.
to say, oh my gosh, in your head, I have to stop doing that. I have to check my ego, lower it down into the middle again,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and say, well, they shouldn't do this for me. I should be doing stuff for them, and at the same time, they should be doing stuff for me.
Yeah, working as a team and showing up. Because one thing that I know to be true is the less your upline helps you, the better you're going to be off. The less your company helps you, the better off you're going to be, because it's going to require you to dig deep down inside and take action and use curiosity to get the result that you want.
Yeah, I was just thinking about something. If you're like if you're like, oh my gosh, I just lost it, dang
That's
it.
okay. I was just saying like how really when your ego is talking like, oh, she should be doing it differently, or she should do more team calls for me, or she should help me more with three-way messages, or she should do this, or she should do that. That's ego talking, and it's an ego of entitlement. And when you do that, you're really keeping yourself in a victimhood where you're giving all your power away. What should you be doing to grow your business? How could you show up more to do your business?
Yeah, if you could, this is how you could show up to do more at your business. You could do it yourself instead of people doing it for you
Yeah.
or me.
How much more are you going to learn if you do it yourself? Way more.
Yeah, if you do it yourself, you're gonna learn way more. But if you do it with other people, just like saying, just
In a team spirit,
Yeah.
not ego spirit.
I just got it back.
Okay, good.
If you're like doing it in like teamwork is always going against the ego.
Mm,
And if you're like teamwork, ego hates teamwork.
mm.
It says, I want them to do this for me. I don't want to do it. They can do the teamwork. I don't want to
Mhm.
do it. The ego is
Mhm.
basically wanting you to be lazy,
Ah, I see. Laid back.
laid back, sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Scrolling social media.
Always.
All right, Chase, you are the man. Thanks for sharing with us today about the ego. Remember, we all have one. And when you notice it's there, check yourself. Final words, Chase?
It was really fun today.
Oh, good. We're so glad you're on the podcast, everyone. Thanks for being here, Chase Ray. Have an amazing week, everybody. Bye now.
Right now.